If a high school quarterback drops a pass on a Friday night, I mean, the entire town groans, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's the talk of the town all weekend.
Yeah, and we put their names on water towers. We build these massive multi-million-dollar stadiums for them. But if a kid aces an algebra test on a Tuesday, they might just get a scratch and sniff sticker in a quiet, empty room.
Right. It's a completely invisible victory.
Exactly. But today, we're looking at a community that decided to just completely flip that script. Welcome to today's deep dive. We've got our hands on a single, fascinating web page.
And it's a very brief piece of text, but man, does it pack a punch.
It really does. It's the homepage for an organization in Youngstown, Ohio, called the Academic Achievement Olympian Society. And paired right with it is the F.A.M.I.L.Y. Empowerment Student Achievement Institute, and something they call a parent-student union.
Which is such a unique combination of terms.
Right. So, okay, let's unpack this, because what we're looking at here is a literal street-level blueprint for how families can completely re-engineer academic success from the ground up.
What's fascinating here is that the solutions aren't coming from some, 500-page federal policy document.
Yeah, no bureaucratic jargon.
Exactly. Or a billion-dollar tech rollout in Silicon Valley. It's coming directly from the neighborhood. They are restructuring the entire psychology of how students and parents interact with schooling, and it starts with a really deliberate choice of vocabulary.
Right. The wording is so specific.
It is. The overarching title is the Academic Achievement Olympians Society, and they prominently highlight past events on the site, like the 2017 Olympiad.
I want to stop right there, actually, and just test this idea, because applying the word Olympian to academics gives me a little pause.
How so?
Well, we usually reserve words like Olympian and Olympiad for elite physical athletics, gymnastics, track and field. And those environments are famously high stress.
They definitely are. It's a pressure cooker.
Right. And if a kid fails on the track, they just don't get a medal. That's the end of it. But if a kid fails at math or reading, their entire future is at risk.
That's a very real consequence.
So, doesn't slapping the Olympian label onto a Tuesday math assignment just, add a crushing amount of pressure to kids who might already be struggling just to survive the curriculum?
It's a fair concern, definitely. But this raises an important question about how we currently frame academic struggles. Because right now, a kid struggling with math often feels totally isolated.
And they're just struggling alone at their kitchen table.
Exactly. The pressure's already there, but it's this silent, almost shameful pressure. So by co-opting the word Olympian, this organization is attempting this massive psychological pivot.
Okay, so they're changing the narrative.
They aren't adding pressure, they are transforming the type of pressure. In psychology, there is a well-documented phenomenon known as the Pygmalion effect.
Oh, meaning that high expectations actually drive higher performance.
Right.
Like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Precisely. When teachers, parents, and the whole community expect more from a student, that student internalizes that belief, and their performance artificially rises to meet the expectation.
Wow. So it's about the standard you set for them.
Right. Society accepts the intense pressure we put on teenage athletes because we frame it as this noble pursuit of glory. The community shows up to cheer.
Yeah, the bleachers are packed.
So by calling these kids academic Olympians, the society is basically demanding that the pursuit of a high GPA gets treated with the exact same communal reverence as training for the 100-meter dash.
I see the angle there, but does just calling someone an Olympian actually change how they study? A label is just a label at the end of the day.
Well, it changes the environment around the study. The source text explicitly mentions program covers being printed for these Olympiad events.
Wait, like actual printed booklets?
Yeah, and think about it. You don't print a multi-page program for an empty room.
No, you definitely don't. You print a program for an audience.
Exactly. It structurally implies a ceremony where the community physically gathers to witness and applaud this academic rigor. It pulls the homework out of the isolated bedroom and puts it on a brightly lit podium.
It demands that the neighborhood shows up to cheer for intellectual growth the same way they cheer for a touchdown. That makes a lot of sense. It rewrites the cultural script of who gets to be the hero in the neighborhood.
It completely reframes it.
But to follow the sports analogy for a second, you can't just wake up, throw on a jersey, and win a gold medal.
Right, you need to actually train.
Yeah, an athlete needs a grueling, highly specific training regimen. They need fundamentals. So what are the actual mechanics of this? What is the daily training regimen for an academic Olympian, according to this institute?
Well, they give us their formula right at the top of the page. Before any mention of curriculum or test scores, they list a very specific framework. The ABCs.
The ABCs, okay.
Yeah. Attitude, behavior, communication.
Huh. Seeing the ABCs listed before math or science makes me think they view education as an emotional discipline first and an intellectual one second.
That's a really sharp observation.
I actually want to try out a tech analogy here to picture how this functions mechanically.
Okay, let's hear it.
Think of the actual academic subjects like math, reading, history as the software a kid needs to run.
Right, the program's being installed.
Exactly. The attitude, behavior, and communication framework, that is the operating system. And specifically, I'd say it is the computer's RAM, the short-term memory required to process any new information.
Oh, I like where you're going with this. Break down how the RAM functions in a classroom setting.
So if a student walks into a classroom and their attitude RAM is entirely eaten up by anxiety or a feeling of inadequacy, they have zero processing power left.
Nothing left for the lesson.
Right. And their behavior might act up as a glitch. They get defensive, they shut down. So no matter how expensive or cutting edge the math software is, the system just crashes.
Because the hardware can't support it.
They literally do not have the cognitive memory available to process the fraction on the whiteboard.
That is a highly accurate way to look at it, and it really explains why a grassroots organization would prioritize these soft skills so heavily.
Because you can't bypass them.
Right. Often, top-down educational policies obsess over upgrading the software. New textbooks, new standardized tests, some shiny new digital dashboard.
Always a new dashboard.
Always. But this community institute recognizes a street-level survival reality. Academic success is mechanically impossible without emotional intelligence and interpersonal skills.
Let's look at the C in that framework for a second. Communication. How does that act as RAM?
So communication in this context isn't just about giving a good presentation in front of the class. It's the mechanical ability to navigate an institution.
What do you mean by that?
If a student doesn't understand a concept, do they have the language and the confidence to raise their hand and say, I am lost? Do they know how to collaborate with a peer without escalating a conflict?
So it's self-advocacy.
Exactly. By explicitly listing attitude, behavior, and communication as their core pillars, the society is telling families that emotional regulation is not separate from academics.
It's the absolute prerequisite.
Yes, they're going to train a kid's resilience just as rigorously as their times tables.
But wait, an operating system doesn't just maintain itself. A 10-year-old child cannot just independently debug their own anxiety or invent their own communication skills in a vacuum.
No, they definitely can't.
So who is doing the IT support here? You can't just hand a kid an Olympian mindset and expect them to self-regulate without an ecosystem.
And that transitions us directly into the structural core of this entire initiative. The scaffolding around the student. The source material doesn't just stop at the student's ABCs.
Right, there's more to the site.
It introduces the F.A.M.I.L.Y. Empowerment Student Achievement Institute, FESA for short, and prominently features this organization called the Parent-Student Union.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting to me. I want to drill down into that specific phrase, Parent-Student Union.
It's a bold choice of words.
It is, because when we hear the word union, we instinctively think of organized labor. Factory workers, teachers' unions, strikes, collective bargaining.
Right, very industrial.
Yeah, it is a heavily loaded industrial term that implies a real power struggle. What does it mean to take a word built on organized labor and forcefully apply it to parenting?
It is a radical reframing of power dynamics in education. Normally, parents interact with the school system as isolated individual consumers.
Yeah, it's a very solitary experience.
Exactly. If your child is struggling, you send an email by yourself, you attend a parent-teacher conference by yourself, you are one person trying to negotiate with a massive bureaucratic institution.
You're on an island. I mean, you might join the PTA, but let's be honest, the PTA is usually just a fundraising arm.
True.
It's organizing the bake sale. It's not wielding actual institutional power.
Exactly. But a union is a collective. It operates on the mechanics of solidarity. If we connect this to the bigger picture, a parent-student union suggests that families are no longer just passive recipients of whatever resources the school decides to hand down.
They're organizing.
It means they are pooling their capital.
How does that work mechanically, though? Because parents aren't employees of the school. They can't exactly go on strike and withhold their kids.
Well, they can't strike in the traditional sense, but they can bargain collectively with their resources and their time. Think about the mechanics of resource pooling.
Oh, yeah.
If you have 50 isolated parents, you have 50 people struggling to figure out how to tutor their kids in algebra or navigate complex college applications.
Everyone reinventing the wheel.
Right. But if those 50 parents form a union, they can inventory their collective skills. Maybe one parent is an accountant who can run a math clinic on Saturdays.
Oh, wow.
Another parent might understand the intricacies of special education law and can act as an advocate for families trying to get an IEP, an individualized education program for their child.
So it's an economy of shared academic resources.
Exactly.
Instead of one parent fighting the administration for an accommodation, you have a representative body showing up to the school board meeting saying, we represent a block of families, and this is our standard.
Yes. And look at how they format the word F.A.M.I.L.Y. on the website. It is stylized as an acronym, F period, A period, M period, and so on.
I noticed that. Do we know what it stands for?
We don't have the explicit breakdown of what each letter stands for in the text, but the punctuation alone tells us it is a structured, intentional methodology.
It's not just a warm, fuzzy word, it's a system.
Right. It is the Family Empowerment Institute. They are actively recruiting adults. The site features direct calls to action saying how to join and parents register.
That completely shifts the parents' posture from defensive to offensive.
It really does.
They aren't just reacting to a bad report card. They are actively registering to be part of an achievement engine. It acknowledges that you cannot isolate a child from their home environment.
No, the ecosystem matters too much.
If you want to build an academic Olympian, you need the family acting as the coaching staff. But to be an effective coaching staff, those parents need their own training, their own support system. They need the union.
It completely disrupts the narrative that student failure is purely an individual failing. It recognizes that achievement requires real structural support.
Okay, so we have the philosophy, demanding the prestige of an Olympian.
Right.
We have the internal methodology, upgrading the operating system through the ABCs of attitude, behavior, and communication.
Yes.
And we have the external structural organization, pooling power through a parent-student union. But abstract frameworks are just white noise if they only exist on the internet. Where does this actually live?
The literal grounding of this digital space is perhaps the most crucial detail on the entire page.
Right, because on this site, which honestly could have just been a slick anonymous web portal full of corporate buzzwords, they give undeniable physical contact information.
Very specific information.
Yeah, call us 330-967-0280, FamilyEmpowermentInstitute@gmail.com. And a physical address, 496 Glenwood Avenue, Youngstown, Ohio, 44502.
That is so rare to see.
It is. Plus, the source text is just littered with raw photo image files. IMG_099, IMG_1109, IMG_0825.
Yeah, the file names are just right there.
It is incredibly rare to see a modern educational resource just boldly list a street address and a direct phone number right on the homepage.
Well, we live in an era where educational solutions are heavily financialized and placeless.
Yeah, completely decentralized.
Silicon Valley develops a scalable app, and they try to deploy it in Seattle, Miami, and Chicago without changing a single line of code. It's a dashboard with no face.
There's the login screen.
But this initiative is aggressively rooted in a physical location.
And Youngstown, Ohio is not a generic backdrop. It has a very specific context. It's a post-industrial city. It's famously known for the massive economic fallout that happened when the steel mills closed decades ago.
Right, a lot of hardship there.
But anyone who knows Youngstown knows it is equally famous for its profound grit and community resilience. By planting a flag on Glenwood Avenue, they are telling their community, this isn't a theoretical app. We're here, on your street.
They are saying the solution to the community's challenge is physically located inside the community itself. And that brings us to those raw image files you mentioned.
Yeah, what's wrong with those?
The web text literally lists file names like IMG_9818 and IMG_9968. A professional web developer would look at that and say, it's broken formatting.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
They'd say it's a mistake to have raw file names visible on a homepage.
Is it a mistake or is it evidence of something else?
What do you mean?
I argue it is the most authentic part of the source. It proves they are actively doing the physical work.
Oh, I see.
They aren't spending thousands of dollars on slick, sanitized stock photos of models smiling at laptops. They are busy taking actual photos of real kids at the 2017 Olympiad.
They're uploading galleries directly from someone's phone.
Exactly, galleries of real parents gathering in a physical room. Those unpolished image files are proof of life.
Proof of life. Wow, that is a great way to frame it. It shows that the mechanics we just talked about, the Union, the ABCs, the Olympiad, are actually firing on all cylinders in the real world.
They aren't just concepts.
No, you can't digitize the feeling of a room full of adults clapping for a kid who just mastered a difficult subject. Grassroots change has to have roots, and roots require soil. The soil here isn't a server farm somewhere. It's Glenwood Avenue in Youngstown.
It serves as a stark reminder that the most sophisticated educational solutions are often the most deeply human ones.
Yeah.
It's not about better algorithms, it's about tighter relationships, localized power, and significantly higher expectations.
So what does this all mean for you listening right now? We started with a single brief web page, but by unpacking it, we found a comprehensive mechanism for community transformation.
It really is a blueprint.
It shows you that you do not have to wait for a sluggish federal bureaucracy to swoop in and fix your local schools. You don't need a billion-dollar budget.
Not at all.
You need organized families. You need a clear framework, like prioritizing attitude, behavior, and communication. And you need the audacity to demand excellence from your own neighborhood.
The power to change the educational trajectory is already sitting in the neighborhood. It just needs to be organized.
It needs to be unionized.
Exactly.
Which leaves me with one final thought I want you to mull over today. We've just seen how a local community in Ohio is working to elevate academics by creating an Olympian society powered by a parent-student union. We understand the mechanics of how that works.
We've seen the engine.
All right. So what other traditional everyday struggles in our own neighborhoods could be completely revolutionized if we applied this exact same structural framework?
That's a fascinating question.
What if we unionized around local mental health support, pulling community resources instead of waiting for external funding? What if we demanded Olympian prestige for local civic engagement or neighborhood cleanups or elder care?
Just apply the same prestige to those areas?
Exactly. If a community can build a functional operating system for academic success right on Glenwood Avenue, the blueprint is sitting right there in front of us. It turns out you don't need a massive machine to change the world. Sometimes you just need an address, a phone number, and a union of parents ready to cheer for their kids like they are going for gold.